Good morning, and thank you all for being here. Today's a very special day for me, and I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their schedules to join in. It all starts with a connection, whether it's a conversation with a colleague that sparks a new idea, or a random encounter that opens up new opportunities with someone you've never met. Making the right connections is a critical piece of turning a vision into reality. And that's what this gathering is all about, forging new connections to help advance health for our city, our state, and the world. And let there be no doubt, in this room right now are some of the top healthcare minds in the world. And I'm very excited that many of them are here to share their insights with us. But even though we have a packed agenda and an all-star lineup, today is about more than listening and learning. It's about making connections. But that can't happen unless each and every one of you are willing to play your part. So I'm going to issue a challenge. But before I do, let me give you a little background on how we got where we are today. You could say Health Connect South started a little more than 3 years ago. Having worked in the health industry for a number of years, I, like many of you, realized that too often we gather in industry silos. Academics talk to academics, health IT to health IT, corporate executives network with other corporate executives. The reality is, the nature of health work does not readily lend itself to a lot of sandbox exploration. And here's the thing. Our community in the Southeast is home to a disproportionate share of health assets. As a collective, these organizations play an important and increasing role impacting health, both here and abroad. But there really hasn't been a forum for interdisciplinary collaborations. So, that led to a pretty simple idea. Let's create a platform where the leaders and innovators of health in our community can seize on new and innovative collaborations. So I started talking to a few people, and those conversations led to more conversations, which led to a solid group of people who shared this vision. But as they say, a vision is just a vision without a plan. So with no money, no staff, nothing but an idea, we set out to create Health Connect South. And what happened next was nothing short of amazing. As we started building, people wanted to get involved, and not just passively. People were willing to donate time, money, expertise to help make this vision a reality. And thanks to the hard work and generosity of hundreds of people, companies, and you, we've arrived here today. But this is just the beginning. What happens next is up to you. Which brings me back to my challenge. As I said before, you're sitting among the leading minds in health today. Each and every one of you are here because you're actively involved in shaping the future of health. So take a minute and think to yourself, how can I help make connections for people I meet today? What can I offer the researchers, the entrepreneurs, the students, the executives, and the professionals that I meet today? Perhaps it's a simple introduction to a colleague. Perhaps it's a meeting to collaborate on a new idea. It could be anything. I want each of you to think of what you can do to help forge a connection. Got it? Now I challenge each of you to help us advance the Southeast's role in the future of health. I challenge you to help us to form a gateway between these industry silos. I challenge you to help us to discover and sustain unique and meaningful partnership opportunities in health. Throughout the day, our speakers will tell you about their work and identify their biggest needs and challenges. And I ask you to do the same. I ask that you think deeply about your biggest needs and challenges. Then I ask that you connect with people today who can help you to address those needs and connect them with the people whose needs you can address. Begin to have collaborative conversations today and continue them long after you leave today's event. I'm confident that these conversations will lead to innovations and collaborations that will advance our role in health in ways that we can't begin to imagine. So today, get out of your comfort zone, open yourself up, bring your humility, and offer your own talents, connections, and resources to the people you meet. If each and every one of us does that, I have no doubt that we will be successful in advancing health together. And what happens next is up to you, but it all starts with a connection.
Good morning, and thank you, Voice of God, for that introduction. It's truly exciting for me to be part of today's event. I'm honored to be on this stage, and more importantly, on the board of directors for Health Connect South. One question that may be out there, some thought bubble, is why is Coca-Cola working with and supportive of Health Connect South? Well, I'm glad you asked. When you work at Coca-Cola, as I have for the past 10 years, you become very aware of the company's history, its legacy, its connectivity, especially here in Atlanta. Coke has always helped bring people together to stimulate creativity, solutions, and results, and we've been doing this for a very long time. For example, we're here in the Woodruff Arts Center, named to honor Robert W. Woodruff, a late chairman of my company and a major benefactor in building this landmark complex and many others, including but not limited to one of the most important institutions in our city, as well as the world, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. CDC has its main campus on land donated in the 1940s by Mr. Woodruff. He supported the CDC because he was concerned about a malaria outbreak in South Georgia, and Washington, D.C. was just a bit too far. The community was in need, and more importantly, Mr. Woodruff believed there was no single go-to place when it concerned health. Building capacity, sharing knowledge, fellowship, supporting education, fostering interdependency and connectivity to advance health and well-being were important then to the Coca-Cola Company and remain core values to our company today. Coca-Cola believes we can do well by doing good in every community we serve. Our business is global, but intensely local. And we know that for Coke to thrive, we need both our workforce and the people we touch to thrive. They are us, and we care deeply about our local ties. To that end, many of our associates and consumers live in countries and communities far different from what we know, often in places where clean water and good business opportunities are exceptions rather than the norm. Our people work in communities that face serious health challenges, from infectious disease threats, need I mention the Ebola crisis in Africa, to non-communicable diseases. That means we have intense interest in finding ways to make our business sustainable everywhere in the world. And with the diversity of markets, we know one size does not fit all. So our sustainability framework revolves around three priorities: women, water, and well-being. All three are aligned and connect either directly or indirectly to health. Let me start with women. In 2010, we launched what we call our 5x20 initiative. Our target is to empower 5 million women entrepreneurs across the globe by 2020. Our efforts are focused mainly on small businesses in low and middle income countries. We're using our programs to help women become more successful because empowered women create healthier communities overall. They can serve as catalysts for a variety of health activities and trajectories. Next, I'll touch on water. Water is second only to oxygen on the list of nutrients to maintain life and health. Our overall goal as a company is to be water neutral. That means we'll replenish and return to nature and our communities an amount of water that equals what we use to make our beverages. Today, more than 1 billion people lack access to potable water, and 2.5 billion don't have adequate sanitation. To help, the Coca-Cola Company connected with several partners to launch EcoCenter, a downtown in a box to offer safe water and other basics. We have a video and information upstairs. Please, for those who want information in more detail, come visit us. Let me now turn to well-being. Our company makes non-alcoholic beverages. That's what we do and what we've been doing for 128 years. Our business has, however, changed enormously over the decades. We long offered one drink in one package, Coca-Cola in 6.5-ounce bottles. Beginning in the 1950s, we began to broaden our portfolio enormously. Today, our portfolio includes waters, juices, diet drinks, sports drinks, energy drinks, coffee, teas, dairy and soy beverages, coconut waters, and the list goes on and on. We can and do offer practically any kind of beverage for any lifestyle and occasion. Over 3,500 products and 500 brands globally. The power of our portfolio is backed by a distribution system that is unparalleled. In some markets, our system is in collaboration with others to bring medical supplies to remote places. I'll touch on this momentarily. But let me go back to our portfolio. We know that for beverages with calories, it's about the how much, and how often. We also know that beverages like Coca-Cola are often mentioned in a variety of health discussions. Let's take obesity, a serious, complex, and growing health problem. Experts agree more needs to be done in the pursuit of evidence-based solutions. From better understanding the role of discrimination plays in health choices, to out-of-the-box research on questions related to behavior, biologics, the human system, including energy flux and the microbiome, to the built environment. The list goes on and on. Absent a magic pill, and there is no magic pill and not one solution, well-being for us begins with a healthy energy balance and an active, healthy lifestyle. It's a message and lifestyle we are working to amplify and advance through a wide variety of beverages, as mentioned, smaller packages, and innovations and opportunities for people to be more active and mindful of calorie intake and expenditure. In this context, we focus on three things: education, variety, and physical activity. In short, think, drink, and move. And we want people to be mindful of all three. Think is about educating people on healthier, more active, and balanced lifestyles. We are committed to help consumers make more informed decisions about the beverages they choose. Transparency and factual information are key, so we put calories on the front of pack of all our beverages. We want people to know what they choose. Which brings me to drink, part of the trilogy, as mentioned already. We offer practically every type of product for every lifestyle and occasion. And finally, there's move, and this is about promoting physical activity. We live in a society where activity has been engineered out and sedentarism is the default behavior. As a consequence, exercise falls short of what we need. According to the CDC, less than half of all US adults meet the recommended guideline on physical activity. For children and adolescents, it's even worse. And in 2012, a Lancet series highlighted the fact that physical inactivity is a global pandemic and a major health threat. There are many experts in this room today to discuss this topic in more detail, and I'd be happy to help make those health connections, because such connections are the catalyst for new ideas that will help our people become healthier and, yes, happier. And that is why the Coca-Cola Company is here today, because we see HCS and this connectivity event as a trigger to drive collaborations that will create and expedite solutions to help all of us and the public at large achieve optimum health and well-being. I'll end by mentioning a concept we call the Golden Triangle. The idea is that we are stronger, more effective, and efficient when there is cooperation between government, business, and civil society. Together, we're incredibly powerful. Earlier, I mentioned our distribution system and how it has helped medical supplies get into places that are difficult to reach. Here's one example. In 2009, we launched Project Last Mile in partnership with the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The project uses our distribution system and our marketing expertise to help African governments get vital medicines and supplies to the last mile in remote, hard-to-reach communities. The coalition is investing over $21 million, plus significant in-kind expertise. This is the work that can be done when we are connected and working together to advance the public's health, when we're all in, as the saying goes. And there is so much more we need to do to advance public health. So, At Coca-Cola, we're all in, just as we have been for the last 130 years. I thank all of you for being here today, and I will do everything that's humanly possible to meet as many of you as I can today. Thank you very much.
It is really a pleasure for me to be here and pleasure to follow my colleague Rhoda Applebaum from Coca-Cola. And it's wonderful to be part of this incredible first convening of Health Connect South. It's also an even greater pleasure for me to not be following David Satcher, who is going to speak next. He's a hard act to follow, so I'm much happier being his warm-up act. But this really is an exciting meeting because it convenes a really powerful group of partners and stakeholders to discuss what I think is an incredibly powerful notion: building healthier communities, not only here in Atlanta, not only in the nation, but also around the world. Now, CARE is very involved as a global organization, as you know. For nearly 7 decades, CARE has had the honor of making an impact on the lives of people across the globe. Now, a lot of you may think of CARE as a food relief organization because that's how we got our start in 1945, sending the first ever CARE packages as part of the effort to rebuild war-torn Europe after World War II. Now, over time, CARE has evolved as an organization, going from simply meeting people's basic human needs to really working to create long-term change and build healthy and resilient communities around the world. That's at the heart of CARE's mission and why today this theme really resonates with us and the partners that we work with. Today, we have a vast reach and our work is very diverse. But our mission is simple: to fight and eventually end extreme poverty and social injustice worldwide. Now, in our work, whether it's health, education, economic opportunities, all the things that we're involved in, we place a particular focus on empowering women and girls because women and girls are disproportionately impacted by poverty, but we also know that equipped with the resources that they need to succeed, it doesn't just help that individual woman or that individual girl, but it's how we bring long-lasting change to whole communities and nations and ultimately our world. Now, last year, CARE worked in 87 countries, supporting over 1,000 poverty-fighting and humanitarian aid programs, and reached almost 100 million people. Today, our CARE package is really about delivering long-lasting change and the tools that people need to overcome challenges for the rest of their life. So how does this relate to our topic today? We're clearly not exclusively a health organization, but then I guess that depends on what your definition of health is. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. One of the questions I'm asked all the time is, what is a doctor doing heading a global poverty-fighting organization? Well, after about 25 years working in public health, I joined CARE because I believe that working to end poverty helped to strike at the very issues that are the root causes of poor and unequal health. The fight against poverty is a crucial fight for better health. Poor health is both a cause and a consequence of poverty. If we recognize the links between poverty and poor health, I think we can do a better job of fighting both poverty as well as fighting poor health. As a public health physician, I feel that the many tools and approaches in public health that we share together are really the same tools that help us in the fight against poverty. After all, poverty is really a disease. It's a disease of society, and it can be fatal. It kills through starvation, up to 20 million deaths every year. It kills with unclean water, more than 3 million deaths every year. It kills by lack of access to medicines and quality medical care. So through my work at CARE, I've gained a broader view on how I see healthy communities, and this is what we strive to build through our diverse poverty-fighting programs. So how do we bring lasting change to the world's poorest community? A huge focus of our work and is partnership and collaboration. At CARE, our whole approach to building healthy communities is, in fact, through collaboration. Collaboration is a large part of why CARE is here in Atlanta today. Just over 20 years ago, with generous support from the Woodruff Foundation, CARE moved its headquarters from New York to Atlanta to be part of this growing international city, bringing our strength as a leading humanitarian and development organization to complement the great world-class institutions like Coca-Cola, the CDC, CNN, the Carter Center, and others. Over the years, we've had several partnerships that have created significant, long-lasting change to community health. Let me give you some examples of the kinds of partnerships we've been able to build because of being here in this very rich community in Atlanta. So with academia, CARE and Emory have collaborated to implement a school hygiene program in Kenya to improve health and education for school children and to advocate for sustainable solutions to poor hygiene and health. We've worked to assess the sustainability of community-led water points in Mozambique and to understand a community's potential to keep a water point working long after CARE had left the community. We worked with Emory to enable smallholder farmers to access and efficiently use water for enhanced food production in Uganda and Ethiopia. With the corporate community, CARE and Coca-Cola have collaborated to work on water and sanitation in Kenya, Ethiopia, Latin America, and countries like Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and others. And with UPS, CARE has collaborated to deliver faster humanitarian aid through improved supply chain logistics and management. And with government, with a generous grant from the Woodruff Foundation, CARE and the Centers for Disease Control created a sustainable partnership to fund 9 collaborative projects in Africa and Central and South America focused on HIV and maternal health. Those are the kinds of programs that being part of this community has really helped all of us to extend our reach and be able to have broader impact on health and community development. So let me end with a few words about the future. I know that many of you in this room are students. You all are the future innovators, problem solvers, and discoverers. I'd like you to think about what you can contribute to building healthy communities here and around the world. We know that we can make a difference for an individual in their community, but how can we broaden our reach to have an even greater impact? This is the question I hope you'll help us answer, so that in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we'll all come back together realizing that this was the start of really creating a movement to building healthy communities here and around the world. So in closing, I'd like to thank all the supporters and partners here today who are helping CARE lift communities out of poverty by building healthy communities through your engagement here in Atlanta and well beyond. I hope more leaders like you will join us in this important cause that inspires our best efforts every day. Together with your knowledge, your creativity, and your dedication, we can make a healthier, more peaceful, and more prosperous world. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. I know that Dr. Gale said that she was my warm-up act since I was following her, but the fact of the matter is I have been following Helene Gayle for a long time, even when I was director of the CDC and I was supposed to be leading her. So it's really great to be a part of this great panel. And I want to say to Dr. Applebaum how very, very grateful I am to the role that Coca-Cola not just is playing in this country and in this community, but has played for a long time. I was just thinking, it was 51 years ago. I was a senior student at Morehouse College, and at the time I was head of the student sit-in movement. And a couple of us had gotten arrested, and we were actually on a hunger strike to call attention. But it was really at a time when the business community of Atlanta was really getting tired of all of the student activity and sit-in. and they were really trying to get the city to act, because at the time we could not eat at any restaurant downtown. In fact, Pasca's was the only restaurant that would serve us. But two of us got arrested after they had decided that they were going to stop these arrests. And I remember that Coca-Cola called a meeting of the business community, and that's documented in the Civil and Human Rights Museum downtown, and said basically that, it's really time for us to move on. It's really time for the city to move on. And those business leaders negotiated the end of the student sit-in movement, and Atlanta, in fact, did move on, and has been moving on ever since. So I'm grateful to Coca-Cola for that and for so many other things. Well, this is a very important meeting, and I want to express my appreciation to Health Connect South for its leadership in bringing us together. Collaboration is critical, and in a way, I feel like I have lived this history of collaboration also in many ways. My favorite definition of public health is that public health is the collective actions of a society to create the conditions in which people can be healthy. There are a lot of definitions of public health, but I think it really captures working collectively to create the conditions in which people can be healthy is the definition of public health that I think really calls us together even today. Public health is in a way sort of the pivotal edge of not just solving problems like Ebola and polio and others, but of keeping people healthy and of advancing the health of people, promoting health. So I'm very pleased that I've had the opportunity to work in public health for many years as director of the CDC and in Washington as Surgeon General and Assistant Secretary for Health. But since that time, and now directing a Health Leadership Institute that's really based on preparing young people and others to collaborate in solving problems in the community. Now, you may be unaware that this year is a very special year. It is actually the 50th anniversary of the first ever Surgeon General's report. In 1964, Dr. Luther Terry released the report, Smoking and Health, a report of the Surgeon General. And in that report, he called attention to the dangers of smoking, specifically pointing to lung cancer and cardiovascular disease. Now, my favorite story about that, of course, is that Dr. Terry, on his way to the press conference to release that actually first ever Surgeon General's report, was sitting in the back seat with his assistant, and he was smoking more than usual. So his assistant said, well, Dr. Terry, do you know the first question they're going to ask you when you finish delivering this report? He said, no, what's that? So they're going to ask you if you smoke. And Dr. Terry said, oh, no, they wouldn't. That's a personal question. Why would they ask me that? So he went on and did just a great job of releasing a report. The first question, Dr. Terry, do you smoke? And Dr. Terry said, no, I don't. Well, the reporter had done his homework. So he said, well, Dr. Terry, when did you quit? And Dr. Terry said, I quit 15 minutes ago. And he never smoked again. In fact, his son, Michael, likes to tell the story of how his dad walked around the rest of his life with a lapel pin saying, thank you for not smoking. And I tell that story because I think Dr. Terry was such an effective leader in getting us started on this long campaign to end smoking, in part because he knew what it was like to be addicted to nicotine. And he knew what it was like to have to quit or to even want to quit. And some people want to quit and can't. Collaborations are probably at their peak around any Surgeon General's report because you can only put together a quality Surgeon General's report if all of the major agencies of federal government, especially CDC, NIH, SAMHSA, and others are involved. When I released the first ever Surgeon General's report on mental health, what I remember most was the collaboration that took place in putting that report together. And it was a collaboration of people who really cared about the health of the American people, starting with our children. And a topic that had been ignored, and a topic that was filled with stigma, mental health and mental illness. But it was a collaboration. It was the families of persons with mental disorders. It was the state-level organizations, the federal agencies, all coming together with the Surgeon General to put together the report, Mental Health, a report of the Surgeon General. It was a collaboration at its best. And then later, in fact, just a few years ago, I had an opportunity to work with the World Health Organization in the whole area of social determinants of health, which had never really been dealt with by the World Health Organization. And the World Health Organization had announced the goal of health equity in this generation. And so they wanted us to investigate the role of social determinants of health. And a group of us, 24 from countries throughout the world, traveled all over the world looking at how social determinants were playing out in the lives of people. Poverty, as Dr. Gale discussed. Education, beginning with Chile, where they had decided to make education, quality education, available to all of its children, starting at 3 months of age. And why? So that teenage mothers would be able to finish school. And it went on, but it included models of good nutrition and physical activity. And Chile now, of course, can show that they have reduced the cost of health care. They have reduced the cost of incarceration because they invested in education. We saw a lot of examples, and I don't have time to go into detail of all of them, but they were examples of people struggling with social determinants. We saw some problems in the largest slum in the world, in Kenya, where AIDS was running rampant. We saw a country that was getting ready to invest in a major hospital, but had not invested in running water for that slum. Social determinants of health are really critical. And in our report, we said they were more important than health care, the social determinants of health. What are they? Social determinants of health are the conditions in which people are born, in which they grow, in which they learn, in which they work, in which they age. They are education and income and poverty. And unless we address the social determinants of health, and we can only do that collaboratively, we cannot succeed. Well, let me end by saying a word about the Satcher Health Leadership Institute at the Morehouse School of Medicine. And you're going to hear later from our new president, we've just inaugurated as our 6th president, Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice. And it was a great inaugural weekend. I hope you had a chance to take advantage of some of it. But part of what we try to do at the Morehouse School of Medicine is to help develop leaders, and we do it collaboratively. The mission of our institute is to develop a diverse group of leaders who are committed first to reducing and ultimately eliminating disparities in health. And our vision, of course, is global health equity and to be a major force for global health equity. There are 2 things that we believe that I think are critical. Number one, we say that at our Health Leadership Institute, everybody teaches and everybody learns. Because we believe that the people we work with in the community, including our parenting program, have a lot to teach us, and we have a lot to learn from them, and we try to share what we have. And let me close with our motto at the Satcher Health Leadership Institute, and it's about caring. And I believe that collaboration begins with shared caring. We say that in order to eliminate disparities in health, we first must care enough. We need leaders who care enough, but we also need leaders who know enough. We need leaders who have the courage to do enough. And finally, we need leaders who will persevere until the job is done. And I hope that when it comes to this commitment to collaboration, we together will persevere until the job is done. Thank you.